Hey, I'm Joe, and if you watch my channel, you know that I'm a coach in the real estate space. And this is my amazing wife, Liz.
Hello.
And we decided that we wanted to do something a little bit different. So we're actually just sitting in our living room here, and we wanted to kind of show you what it looks like to be an entrepreneur couple. Because um, sometimes there will be an entrepreneur on one side of the relationship, and then the other one's just kind of trying to hang on for dear life. Uh, but we actually kind of have a unique situation where we're both entrepreneurs. We're actually both in the coaching space. She is just starting her coaching journey, and I'll let her tell you a little bit about that. But it has had its times when it's challenging. There's been times when um, there's been some stress there, but it's been extremely rewarding as well, and it's been an amazing journey together. And we just thought we have really amazing conversations, the two of us, and we thought, maybe our insight and our conversations could help some other people, because that's the world we're in. We're in the coaching world. The way we think is that anything we learn, we want to be able to share to help other people. And I believe that, I mean, my wife is brilliant. She comes up with some amazing ideas. And but when we're feeding off of each other, when we're actually having a conversation together, then the ideas that we come up with together are so much better than the ideas we could come up with on our own. So it kind of serves as two purposes, really. One is so that you can kind of see what it looks like, um, as an entrepreneur couple, and us both being in that coaching space, but then also to also kind of for us as well, so that we have almost like a video journal log of the conversations we've had, because we have some really good conversations, and then sometimes it's like, oh crap, we should have wrote that down.
Yeah.
So so that's kind of what this is about. I hope you guys can really gain some value from this. We're gonna start doing this regularly, because I want to make sure that we're capturing some of this, this value that we're getting from each other
Yeah.
on video, and hopefully you can get some value from it as well. So so I'll just start with a quick story of myself, I guess, of our journey. So I started as an entrepreneur, started my very first company at 22. So it's been a journey, right?
Yeah.
There's a book by Michael Gerber, called The E Myth, and he talks about how you're just basically going along one day, and then you have an entrepreneurial seizure. That's what he says. He calls it an entrepreneurial seizure. It is
Yeah.
basically like you just like have this seizure, and then all of a sudden you decide, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to be my own boss. I want to do my own thing.
Yeah.
And so I got that pretty early on, probably in my blood. My dad was an entrepreneur. He had varying degrees of success. I won't go into that, but so I think that's kind of in my blood. So I started really early, and that caused some pretty early stress
Yeah.
in our relationship. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, I mean, you decided to become an entrepreneur when I was pregnant with our third child.
That's
And I'm
true.
just like, okay, here we
Yeah.
go. I had no idea what to expect, to be honest, because my parents,
Right.
my mom was a stay at home mom, and then my dad worked for his dad. So I didn't know what
Right.
an entrepreneur
Yeah, your dad
was.
hadn't even started his own company yet.
No, not
He'd
yet.
never even been an entrepreneur, right? He is just
No.
working for your dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't know where we were going to go and how that was going to work. And I was also hormonally pregnant. So there was that.
Yeah, and like I said, I had that basically had that seizure, and it's one of those things. And if you've had this situation, I'm sure you have, if you're watching me, you've had this situation where you get into this, you have that like seizure, you have that realization where it's like, I have to do my own thing, I have to. And it's not. I know for some people it's like, I don't want to. I don't want to be under a boss anymore. I want to be my own boss.
You want
Some people,
freedom.
yeah, I want freedom. I want to be able to make my own hours. And I know for some of them it's like that. For me, it was just like, it wasn't that I didn't want a boss. It was just I had gotten this little taste of building something on my own.
Yeah. Well, it was the creative part of you was coming out. You're like, I can create something and get money for it. So
Right.
let's just do that.
Out of nothing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I think that's what sparked your
And
interest.
and that's the beauty of being an entrepreneur is you get to build something out of nothing,
Hmm.
and then not just as a product for people to buy, but as a way to help people.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's that feeling is absolutely incredible. So I immediately got addicted to that feeling,
Right.
but it didn't go well. The
It
first the
didn't.
first actually the first 2 years it didn't actually go very well.
No, but he's like, he will not stop. He's very committed. When he gets committed to something, he will just like keep going, which is admirable,
Oh,
admirable.
thank you.
But it's also very frustrating for me, who's like, well, just get a job, or
Yeah.
because I'm not seeing anything yet. And but he's like, I know it's gonna work, and I can't quit because if I quit, then it'll never will.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, I see the vision, and I think you're starting to see some of that. I think you're starting to get
Yeah,
a little bit of the seizure now, right? Is
yeah, a
that is
little.
that fair?
It's fair.
But when you can see that vision, it's something that just when it starts to light you up. There's nothing quite like it.
Yeah.
Um, and I had that very early on, but like I said, it didn't go well at first. We My first year in business, I made 6 grand, and that did
Hey,
not pay the bills.
no.
And then the second year in business, we made $9,000. Man, that was quite the jump, right?
Yeah, $3,000 better. You know.
um, but then, that's actually when it's funny because that's actually when my coaching journey started.
Yeah.
Because I realized at that point, like this is not working.
Right.
I'm brand new entrepreneur. I'm 21 years old. I guess I'm 24 by this point.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know about sales. I don't know what marketing is. I know almost nothing. All I know is
Well,
I don't want to work for someone else. I want to do my own
and
thing.
you're good at what you're doing.
And I'm good at what I'm doing. I like what I'm doing.
Yeah. Exactly.
And so, like I have to be able to provide for my family. I have to be able to pay the bills. And so that's really when my coaching journey started because um, I got something in the mail, I think,
It was.
from a marketer,
Yeah.
and they were able to start helping me market my business
And wasn't it
as
like a free ticket, like a free ticket to go to the conference?
that's what it was. So it was a
Yeah.
book about marketing secrets for the industry I was in. So I started in home inspections, but it was a free book. He literally sent me a free book in the mail.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't like these junky little
It was
pamphlets. I mean, it was
like,
like a book.
yeah, and it was like right around the time when you're like, this isn't
This
working.
isn't working.
We're not making money.
At
We're
that
gonna
point,
quit.
and you wanted me to get a job for
Yeah. The post
at the
office.
post office.
Because it was holiday time. They were hiring a bunch of people. Why not?
Spoiler alert: they laid off a ton of people that year. So I guess this is the one situation in my life where not listening to my wife worked out.
Well, you know.
But so we got a book in the mail,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a good book, and it gave some really good valuable information. And the thing was, I actually started implementing some of that marketing information right away, and
Yeah.
it worked.
It did. It worked. Yeah.
And it started to work, and I was like, "Oh man, this is crazy." So because I didn't know, when you don't know what you don't know, right? And so
Right.
I thought, well, and then he had this little slip. He had this like little golden ticket, I think he had
Yeah.
in the book, and it was an invitation to go to a conference in Dallas, and so that was about 10
Well,
hours
yeah.
from where we lived at the time. We lived in New Mexico at the time, and so I wrestled with it because I was like, the few things that I used had actually started working, and so I knew there was something more to this. And here's the thing: we had like what, $1,000
$1,000.
in our account. Like
Yeah.
we were running on empty.
For groceries, all the bills.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we were basically out of money.
Right.
And the company I had been working for um,
Was going out of
was
business.
kind of, yeah, it was struggling a
Mhm.
lot, and so I didn't have any assurance that was going to still have a job there either.
Right.
So we kind of came to a crossroads at that point where I was like, what are we going to do? And
So you and your dad.
so me and my dad,
To,
we went to the conference.
yep.
We had $1,000 in the bank account. We didn't know how we were gonna pay for the mortgage. We didn't know how we were gonna pay groceries, but I just took a leap of faith, and that's the thing. Sometimes you just gotta make that leap.
Mhm.
Those leaps are the difference, and I've learned that. I'm kind of getting on a tangent here, but I've learned that throughout my life and my career and my entrepreneurial journey and my relationships. Is sometimes you gotta take that leap,
Mhm.
and so we took the leap. Um, I scraped together enough money to get to stay at a hotel and go to the conference. The conference, thankfully, I think it was a free ticket to the conference, so I
Yeah,
didn't have to
everything
actually
was
pay to go to the
free.
conference. Um,
And if
which
you
is funny
stayed in
because
the.
full circle, I'm actually using some of the tactics that I learned from him as a coach. I use some of those coaching tactics now is is give that value ahead of time. Give people value so that they want some so that you are so people want to come back and see what you have next. And that's one of the things that my coach says all the time is the one thing that you always want to encourage is when people you're giving value, eventually they're going to ask you what's next.
Right.
And that's exactly what happened with me, because I went to that conference and it was just pure gold. He had so much amazing information on marketing, on how to get your company running, how to put these systems in place. And I was like writing like crazy. I'm like writing every word. And I came back with this giant notebook of notes. And she's like, "What the heck happened?" And I started implementing these things right away. And I actually joined his like mid
the
tier
lowest,
program.
the
I
lowest
think it
one,
was
I
like
think.
mid.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Like what, $300 a month?
like $300-400 a month.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm like, are you serious?
yeah. Like we already don't have money,
Yeah.
and so I joined this program that's a couple $100 a month.
I was
Um,
really not on board in the beginning.
she
I
was
was
not.
not. I was a wall. I don't know. I'm trying to think of like the right word for
What do you
it.
mean a wall?
Like just a hindrance, I guess. It was not helpful.
Well, it was something new that we
Yeah.
were going through, and I had already seen the value of it, and so it was like, this is what we need. Is
Mhm.
we gotta find a way to move forward. We have to dig in. And so it was a couple $100 a month. We got the program, and
Um,
it what it included was it was a lot of really good marketing materials, a lot of really good uh, content to be able to help us jumpstart our business and to keep moving forward. But then it was either weekly or biweekly coaching calls, and
yeah.
so I was able to start getting value through weekly. And that was one of the things that really, that again, like I said, that was the beginning of my coaching journey.
Yeah.
Is I finally started to understand the value of, I don't have to figure this out on my own. I can learn from someone else.
Model proven practices.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Model proven practices, instead of you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Find someone. And that's one of the things I talk to my students about all the time, is find someone that's doing what you want to do. Find someone that's been there, and do what they're doing, instead of trying to figure out everything on your own. do what they're doing. I do that all the time. I'm on like 4 different coaching programs because I want to better myself constantly, and there's no reason for me to just try and spin my wheels if I already know that there's someone that's doing what I want to do, and I can get there quicker.
Mm.
So anyway, so we did that, and then we did that for about a year,
Yeah.
and then I went to the next conference. It was the same conference, but that they do every year.
This time
And
we had to pay.
this, huh?
This time we had to pay.
We did?
Didn't we?
No, I
Or
think
is
it was
always...
included because we were
Oh,
part of
okay.
the program. But we still had to pay for the
And
hotel and everything.
we all went that one. We
And
took
then
the 3 kids,
yeah,
and well, I didn't go to the conference with you.
you
You
just
and
stayed in the
Pa went,
hotel,
and
huh?
I stayed with his mom, and the 3 kids at the hotel. It was a really fun trip.
Yeah.
I remember it being fun.
I think we got like one of those suites
Yeah,
with
and
like
then
had a bedroom and bathroom on one side, bedroom, bathroom. It's like Homewood Suites, I think,
yeah,
right?
it
Where
was
you
a
got
lot of
like a
fun.
kitchen thing in the middle. But it was a fun trip. But we went to the next conference, and at that conference, I signed up for the next level. I think that was like the platinum level, which was $1,000 a month. And
Yeah,
but we saw almost immediate benefits from it
we did. Yeah.
because that one. It was the next level because it wasn't just coaching calls. It was quarterly meetings. I actually started flying out to these different meetings all over the countries, and we had quarterly coaching meetings. There were usually 2 to 3 days quarterly. Like every single quarter, I would fly. I was flying to Seattle. I was flying to North Carolina or South Carolina. I think I flew to California one time. I think Dallas a
just
lot.
everywhere.
It was all over the place. But the value that I got from coaching was incredible because every time I went to those meetings, I came back with something valuable that I would start to implement into the business, and our growth would skyrocket every single time I would bring something back because I would be able to find that thing that I was missing and just plug it into the business instead of trying to figure it out on my own.
By that point, I was finally on board because I had some security. I knew that it was working. So I was like, okay, yeah, I'll help you with that. So I started answering the phones and going marketing so that he could do the work, the
Started
payables.
working on the business. Yeah.
And then we got some employees, and then
I think at one point we had 5 employees. I think
4.
4 employees.
Yeah, we were doing really well, and then COVID.
Yeah. I think everyone's transformational journey starts with COVID, and then COVID happened.
And then COVID
Right?
happened.
Like when whoever's watching, when you're watching this, when COVID hit, something shifted in your life, right? Every single person I've talked to about COVID, when COVID hits, it's like that's the beginning of some kind of transformational journey.
Yeah.
And so anyway, like I said, COVID hit, and New Mexico, where we were living, just completely locked down.
Yeah.
And remember, I had the entrepreneurial seizure, and nobody's going to tell me what I can and cannot do. And so we were basically almost put out of business overnight.
No, we were pretty steady work in 2020. We did really well. We almost made
That's true. In 2020, we did really well. Yeah, we almost hit $500,000.
Yeah, we were getting a lot of 1-star reviews because we wouldn't wear the mask.
Right.
But yeah, that we did really well in 2020. But we just felt like
it was starting to drop off, and the opportunities were starting to drop off.
There's not a lot of opportunities in New Mexico. Like,
yeah,
there's not a lot there. Beautiful mountains, but
yeah.
So we had the feeling that it was time to move on from that.
Yeah, and yeah, there was a lot of crime in the area and stuff. So we felt like like I said, we needed to move on. So we moved to Orlando, which is where we live now. Um, and we took everything that we had learned from the company that we had in New Mexico, and we just plugged it in here, in Orlando, and
Worked pretty quickly.
yeah,
Like
we
the first month that we started marketing, we got like 3 or 4 jobs that next week.
yeah, it worked
Worked really
pretty well.
quickly.
We
Yeah.
really hit the ground running, and it worked really well, and doing really great. We did that for about a year and a half to almost 2 years.
Mhm.
Um, and then go ahead.
I was gonna say, and during this time, right after we moved, I got pregnant with our 4th baby. So we're starting a new company again while I'm pregnant.
The
So
new
it's just
baby.
like we did not learn the first time, I
Yeah.
guess.
So we've got three and then one on the way, and then as probably most of you on the channel know, that's when our son got sick, and he
Mhm.
was diagnosed with leukemia, and so that was one of the worst days of our life, probably. But anyway, so he got sick, and
The interest
then
rates
the interest
spiked.
rates in real estate spiked, and so we got hit with, our son was sick. We're trying to figure out how to keep him alive. We're trying to keep our family afloat, and then the interest rate spiked, and so my work dropped off basically overnight, and so we
Mhm.
got hit from both sides overnight. We had some really amazing people help us, and that's
Yeah.
probably the only reason we were able to make it through was we had so many friends reaching out to us to help us.
Yeah, for sure. Community is important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But so we were finally able to make it through that, and our son is got about
6
six
months.
months worth of treatment left. So he's almost at the end. And so we really wanted to just kind of go through the backstory of what everything looks like for us,
Mhm.
because we're going to start, having some more in-depth conversations. I wanted you to see our journey. I wanted you to see how we got here, then also how Liz got to where she's at. Because when we started, um, like I said, we finally got through everything, and when the fact that my son had gotten sick, and I felt completely helpless. I felt like
Yeah,
I couldn't do anything.
there's not much we could do. We were
And
at the mercy
uh,
of
yeah,
medical system and God.
yeah. And at one point I went into a pretty deep depression because I felt helpless, and I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And I was at that point I was trying to market my business again, and it wasn't working the same way as it was working before, because the market had changed, and that was right then was when, like, kind of the onset of social media marketing. I mean, it was that they were doing social media marketing before, but this was like when it
Now it's just
really started
like,
ramping up,
yeah.
and that was when, right, kind of when AI first started. It was really getting its start there, and so we're like thrown in the middle of all this. We don't know what to do, and I can't get my company to work, and so I just like plunge into this deep depression,
Ended up getting
and
2 more jobs,
I
so
ended
working
up
3 jobs.
ended up violating the entrepreneurial rule. I ended up working for someone else.
Didn't work out.
It's fine. Yeah, I had to do what I had to do, but I I tell people, like, I've been working for myself so long that I'm basically unhireable at this point.
Actually, they love hiring him. It's just that he's like, well, I'm worth more than what you're giving me,
I
and
just
you
I've got
are.
I've got ideas, and I want I
Yeah.
want to improve things, and I want to make things more efficient, and they didn't want to hear that.
No, other entrepreneurs do not want to hear how their business can be better.
Well, unless you're open to coaching, and that's
Sure.
where the power comes in. But so I spent a lot of time in depression, and I finally found a light when I was able to start getting coaching from Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi, where I went to an event. It always seems to be an event
Yeah,
for
and it
me.
was free, a free
It
event.
was a free event, and I found it was a free event online, virtual, and I realized at that point that I could either choose to keep being depressed, I could either choose to be there, I could choose to become the man that I wanted to be. And that was really when everything changed. And there's a lot more backstory to it, but that's really when everything changed, is when I decided I'm not going to be like this anymore. I'm not going to be depressed anymore. And that was the second that was the second and way more powerful part of my coaching journey, because I realized the thing is the first leg of my coaching journey was
To learn
more
how to
like
be coached.
consultation. It was more like, here's some things to do, go
Hmm.
do them.
Yeah, but you also had to learn how to be coached because you can't
True.
coach someone if you can't be coached, right? Do you
Yeah.
agree?
Well, and you can't learn anything if you're not coachable.
Right. And how can a coach teach someone if they can't learn?
That's true. Yeah, that's true. I realized at that point that, like I said, I need to make a choice, and I made that choice, and it was like a change overnight, um, because I realized that personal development was important, and we've had this conversation before about how so many times as an entrepreneur, or as a mom, or as just honestly someone that just loves other people and really deeply cares about other people, and sometimes we don't take care of ourselves, and
True.
sometimes we think that if we take care of ourselves, if we do self-care, then that's selfish. That's basically how I grew up, is that self-care is selfish. It's all about you. And that couldn't be further from the truth. And that was a big epiphany moment for me, because I wasn't showing up as the person I needed to be. I was depressed. I wasn't doing the things I needed to do. And it was a big epiphany moment for me, because I realized I need to take care of my own body, my own mind, my own soul, because then the when I take care of myself, that's how I show up for my family. That's how I show up
Mm.
for my clients. And that was a huge shift for me. And when I realized that, I thought, man, if this can work for me, if personal development can work for me, then it can work for anyone. And so that was the beginning of wanting to actually start coaching other people.
Yeah.
And at that point, I had already done some coaching, kind of unofficially, because I had worked with realtors before. I had a team. I love team building. That's always been one of the things I really love.
Yeah.
And so I started to build this desire to help other people, and it went from kind of a little bit of a spark to just a roaring fire in just a matter of a couple of months.
Yeah.
And that's when I started building my programs. That's when I started building. So I started to piece together, okay, what happened with me? And I started to piece those things together, and that's when I started to build my programs that I help with people with today, that have incredible um, you know, results from. I have one client recently. I'm going to brag a little bit. I have one client that 10x her business in just about 8 weeks, and it's really exciting. And you can tell I get on fire when I talk about it, because that's what really lights me up now. And coaching is, is so fun and so rewarding, because you can see the transformation in other people's lives,
Yeah.
and the money is only a piece of it.
Yeah.
That's just so I can keep going. That's just so that I can help more people
And take care of your
and take
family.
care of my family. But that's what I mean, so that we
Yeah.
can keep going. And so that actually kind of pulls a circle to where Liz has come in her journey, because she has found, and I'll let her tell you about it, but through the whole process of our son going through leukemia, she learned so much, and I'll let her tell you about that.
So, where should I begin? Like,
So just
um,
so just the whole process of
okay.
him getting sick, and how you wouldn't take no for an answer, and because it's kind of started with his diet, right?
Yeah. So when he first got sick, after he was out of the critical condition thing, and I could actually think again.
Right.
I asked his oncologist. I was like, so while he's doing chemo, is there any like special diet that he should be on? What should he not eat? What should he eat? And she's like, oh, you don't have to change his diet. Like, what? I mean, obviously he should have a diet change, right? I mean, you need to be healthy. And she's like, no, whatever he wants to eat. I mean, if he needs a cookie one day or whatever, just as long as he's eating it, doesn't matter. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
that's not how that works. I didn't tell her that, but I was like, oh, okay. And then we talked to the nutrition. You talked to the nutritionist, right? Because I wasn't there that day. I had a whole bunch of questions
Yeah.
for them, but I don't know how that went.
Right.
Do you
The
remember?
nutritionist.
Yeah, she didn't give you much information.
She didn't give me much. I was trying. She was trying to be more like, here's the supplements you can give him, and here's these vitamins and all this, and she's talked very little about diet.
Yeah, okay. See, and what the oncologists are like, yeah, don't give him any supplements. No vitamins, no
Yeah.
supplements. So I was like, well, okay. So for the first 3 months, I didn't really, I don't know, I didn't really look into it much.
Right. You're just
Um,
still kind of in survival mode at that
yeah,
point.
it was still like a little bit of shock in when he was on steroids. All he wanted was carbs, like
Yeah.
bread.
And sweets. Yeah.
And so I was on Facebook one day, doom scrolling. That's what we do. um, and I saw this free uh, class or coaching, or I don't know what you call it. But it was 10 modules
As a
of.
course. Yeah.
It was a course, a free course. This guy named, can I say it? Or Chris Beat Cancer.
Yeah.
Um,
Great guy. You should look him up.
you should, yeah. His name's Chris Beat Cancer on Facebook, and he was giving out his course for free for 10 days. Like, he'll play it for 24 hours for 10 days. So I was like, oh, this is awesome. So I start watching him. I'm in the hospital with Kaylin, or sorry,
Okay.
I'm in the hospital with my son, and I'm watching these videos, and I'm just like, this is amazing. Like, juicing and detoxing and water fasts, and talks about coffee enemas, which we have not done on our 10-year-old son. That seems a little bit invasive, but it's amazing. Like, all the stuff he was showing me, and I was like, okay, I want Joe to see it too. So then my mom actually bought it for us, so now I can just watch it whenever I want. So he watched the first video, and he's like, okay, yes, let's do it. So we started getting all the carrots and the juicing stuff to start giving to Kalen, and he was drinking like 20 ounces a day
Yeah.
of the carrot apple juice, and he hated it. He didn't want to drink it, but he did. And what's funny
There's
is
a lot of celery juice in there too.
yeah. So it was carrots, celery, ginger, and apple.
Yeah.
That was his main juice. He would drink that every day. Um, and his hair actually turned orange because of the carrot juice. He never lost his hair because of chemo, but it turned orange.
Right.
The carrot juice
I
is really
remember.
weird. But so I learned about that, and then I also found someone else on Facebook, and she was talking about detoxing, and so I started doing castor oil packs and detox baths too.
Yeah.
And so that helped him a lot with the symptoms of cancer or the treatment.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just want to share that with other moms. But then as Joe's going through this process of self discovery and self care and I was like, well,
overcoming these obstacles and learning how to be who
unlimited
you are.
beliefs, and I have so many of those, but
Unlimited beliefs?
unlimiting beliefs.
You mean limiting beliefs?
Yes, that limiting. I have unlimited beliefs. I don't know what that means, but anyway, I was like, I during Kaylin's journey, I didn't think about self care.
Yeah.
I was just like, I need to take care of him. I need to take care of our other three children, which you know, and so a lot of days I was just frazzled and
And exhausted.
exhausted, and I would get
Emotion.
angry at stupid things.
I think it was physical and emotional
Yeah.
exhaustion.
I mean, we kept up with our family Bible studies, but it was just like spiritually, it was
But we
just
just weren't
draining
we weren't
too.
present.
No, we weren't. I was definitely not present.
I don't think either one of us were for a lot of it. We're just,
No,
like I said, we're in total survival
we're
mode.
just going through the motions and just like praying that Kaylin would be healed. And during that process, we didn't think about, ourselves, our self care. And I'm sure a lot of moms feel that way. Like, I need to take care of my children, not myself. I'm not important right now.
Right.
But I mean, if the mom gets sick, who's going to take care of everybody?
Yeah.
Because that's our job. We're caregivers. We give of ourselves, and so we have to give back to ourselves too.
Yeah.
And I just recently learned that. So I'm just
Well,
like, well, I want to share it with other moms, so I know I'm not alone,
yeah.
especially in that leukemia space.
And it's becoming more common, unfortunately.
It's very sad. I think it's 26 kids a day are diagnosed with not just leukemia, cancer. I think it's 26 kids. I'll have to look at that up. But it's a lot of them, and only one in four will actually survive.
1 in 4?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Well, you were talking about the self-care, and I use this metaphor with my clients and my students, is that when you have a cup that you're pouring out of, eventually that cup is going to be empty, right?
Mm-hmm.
Unless you have something else refilling it.
Right.
And you can look at that as a metaphor for us, for our health and our mental and our soul, is that we have to keep being refilled.
Right.
Because if you're pouring yourself out, and we should always pour ourselves out for others. That's the essence of service. It's the essence of coaching, of what we do now, is that we pour ourselves into other people. And that's one of the most rewarding things, but you have to be able to have someone pouring back into you.
Right.
You
That's
have
where
to,
coaching comes in.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And exactly, that's where coaching
So
comes
you're
in.
my coach. He's my coach.
Well,
Sometimes I don't like
well, we get to coach each other.
Yeah.
But that's one of the most amazing things about having a relationship, where we realize that, though, because a lot of it comes from being aware,
Yeah.
right? Because if you don't understand the process, if you don't understand that you need to be filled, you need someone to help and mentor you, and to keep you accountable, and to keep you filled. And when we both realize that, then we can pour into each other, and we can put some pressure on each other without it turning into any conflict, because we understand that we have our own each other's best interest in mind, and we're pouring into each other because we want to see each other grow.
Right. But if you're not pouring into yourself as well,
right,
you're not going to be able to take that coaching
Sure.
or be poured into, because if you're not pouring into yourself, you're not going to being poured into is it's very difficult.
And that can come, and we could talk about methods of pouring into yourself, for days and weeks at a time. It can be areas in your health, it can be areas in your mind and your soul, and it should be all of those.
Yeah.
And we won't go into depth on those right now. We'll pick one of those topics one of these days. but it is an important concept of being able to take care of yourself. So when you realize that you have to pour into yourself, when you have to take that time for self-care, however much effort you put into taking care of yourself is how you show up. And
Mm-hmm.
that's just how all there is to it.
Yep.
And if you neglect your own self-care, if you neglect to feed your mind, if you
Especially over time,
exactly,
stacks on.
that's it. It
Yep.
stacks. If you let's say just the three cores, if you neglect to exercise, if you neglect to take care of your body, whether it's diet, exercise, whatever it is, then that's going to have a trickle down effect. If you neglect your time to feed your mind, then that's going to have a trickle down effect. If you neglect the time to feed your soul, whatever that looks like for you, if it's meditation or prayer or Bible study or whatever that is, if you neglect that time, then that will affect how you show up no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was one of the things that we had to learn. You said you've recently learned that.
Well, relearned it, I guess.
Relearned it.
I just, during Kaylin's the past year and a half, it's just been like keeping him alive,
Yeah.
and healthy,
Yeah.
through treatment, and keeping our other kids happy and healthy too.
Right.
So it's like 4 little humans.
Yeah.
That you got to take care of. Well, that I get to take care of. Right. 4 little humans I get to take care of, and so it was just a lot. And I was like, I don't have time for me.
Yeah.
And then it stacked, and then at some point I was just like, yeah, I'm here, but I'm not here.
Yeah. But one of the most amazing things that's happened now is that we have both taken enough time for ourselves to build our mindset, to build our bodies, and to build our soul to the point where now we're to the point where we're pouring into others, and that's one of the most amazing, fulfilling things. And that we're just kind of coming full circle now here, because I'm a coach in the real estate space, and I do that because I've always been in the real estate world, and the realtors and real estate professionals are the people that I really have a heart for. And Liz has a heart for other moms that are going through
A traumatic
experience, especially leukemia. She really focuses on the
know
moms
leukemia.
because she knows that's the
Yeah.
space that she knows. And so we're both in that coaching space now. We've come full circle. We've come to this point where we're now both entrepreneurs. We're both now coaches, and we're running this business together. We're running this system together, and now we get to pour into other people. And so we wanted to do this first one as just kind of a backstory on who we are, what got us to where we are, why we would do what we do.
Because why is important.
The why is extremely important.
That's right.
Maybe we'll talk about that one of these days.
Yes. We'll do the 7 levels deep, like on
there,
each other.
There you go.
I don't know. You can do it.
So you're now working with some moms. You've had some interactions with some moms that have kids with leukemia.
Mm-hmm.
What's like the first person that you talked to after you really started realizing that you wanted to help other moms? Who is the first person you talked to, or did they reach out to you, or did you reach out to them, or how did that happen?
Yeah, so I ended up actually I was just commenting on a post that somebody else did about parents.
Okay, well, that was that on Facebook, or
Yeah, on
okay.
Facebook, and I just commented on it. Well, it was about parents with kids that have cancer specifically.
Okay. Was that like a group that you were in, or?
No, it's her personal. Like, I don't know if it's her
okay.
personal page, but it's just like her work page.
I gotcha.
Because she sells like herbal remedies and stuff like that.
I gotcha.
And so I just commented on that, and then the next day, I got a message from another mom whose daughter has leukemia, and she was asking me questions about what I do for our son,
Oh.
and like if I've ever used cannabis, or what vitamins that I give him and things like that. And I love telling, I love educating other moms on how to help care for their child,
Right.
to help them through. I mean, I know every journey is going to be different.
Yeah.
And the things that we did for Kaylin will not work for everybody.
Yeah.
Just like that lady that I commented on, is not everybody's going to be cured with cannabis, you know? Like,
Right.
everybody is different. But if you can mitigate side effects with nutrition and supplements and detoxing, I mean, why wouldn't you do it?
Yeah.
So that was my
So it just kind of
thoughts.
happened naturally. Someone reached out to you naturally. And
Yeah,
what did you think when they reached out to you?
I was just happy that that I can help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it wasn't so many people think that there's like this ulterior motive, but it really just comes from a place of wanting to serve other people, and you've learned so much from what we've been through, that you just want to help other people.
Yeah, that's the long and the short of it.
So basically, I wanted you to see our backstory. I wanted you to see where we're at. This is going to be the first of hopefully of many. Um, we didn't do a whole lot of of our in-depth discussions that we do a lot of times, but I thought this was really important to so you can see where we come from, the heart that we have to serve. We've been through a lot, but who hasn't, right? and and it's amazing how you can use your storms, you can use your trials to actually turn that into strength. Every hard thing that we've ever been through has turned into more strength and
Yeah.
more. And if you allow it, it can completely transform
True.
you. It's
A lady from our church told me the other day, she said, you can't have a testimony without a test.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. So,
Yeah, I mean, it's just like you think about it like when you're working out. If you're doing curls or something, when you work that muscle, you actually have to tear that muscle in order to gain strength. You have to go through the pain in order to get stronger. And when you use that pain as your fuel, and not fuel for victimhood, but fuel to really push you forward, fuel to help to connect you to other people, then the effects of that can be, like I said, transformational. So our family's been through a lot. We've both been through a lot, but it has brought us to this place where now we're working together to help other people. And it's in two very different fields. Liz is helping people with helping other moms with kids, and she helps moms with in traumatic situations, but she really reaches out specifically to moms who have kids that are going through leukemia or have been diagnosed, because that's what she knows. She knows how to help people with that. And I've been in the real estate world for maybe 2 decades, all things considered. And so that's the heart I have for people. So this this kind of series that we're doing, and probably we're going to make it into a podcast at some point, but we just wanted to show you the inner workings of you know two an entrepreneurial couple, because we can feed off of each other, we can come up with really amazing ideas together, and our past experience has made it to where we understand how to use those those trials to actually build strength in
yeah.
each other.
Well, and on the flip side, let's say the wife or the other spouse um, is not an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
You, you should, I learned that encouraging the entrepreneur spouse is really the only way that they can keep growing. They can keep moving. Like they already see the well, Joe already always tells me, I already know what our financial situation is. You don't have to tell me. He's probably worrying about it more than I do, right? So just being an encourager is really important.
Yeah, and to just not don't give up on each other.
Right.
You know,
Mm.
you're
It's hard,
there's
but don't give up.
there's going to be challenges and it's going to be difficult, but if if we can get through a kid going through cancer and both becoming entrepreneurs on the other side of it, it's really is an exciting, really really exciting journey.
The odds, like I was when I was writing stuff down and doing some research, the odds of couples like us staying together is very slim.
Pretty low.
Yeah, but with a lot of hard work, dedication, and God,
Yeah.
anything is possible.
Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
what we're gonna do these conversations probably once a week or so, and because we want to start adding some value to you. This is kind of our introduction to tell you what we're all about, and we're probably going to pick a subject or two each week to really dig into and to help to really feed off of each other, and you guys can kind of be like a fly on the wall in those situations because we want to start to build some trust there and to build some ideas and some momentum. Um, and if I do want to say, like, if you have something that you really want to know about, if you have a subject that you really would like us to dig into, I would love for you guys to share it in the comments below. Put if there's something that you have burning questions about, or a subject that you would like us to cover, put that in the comments below, and we would love to discuss that, because we're coming from a place of service. We want to be able to help you. And that was one of the most powerful lessons we both learned on our journey to becoming coaches, is that it's not about us. It's not about what we can produce. It's about how we can help you. And if you have an area that you're struggling with, we would love to help you get some clarity on that. Whether it's in real estate, if it's in health, if it's whatever it is. And we're probably going to be all over the place. So most of my content deals with mindset and a little bit of marketing and really in the real estate world. But this one's going to be a little bit different because she's in a different space than I am. But mindset and momentum and marketing always kind of is all encompassing for no matter what field you're in.
So is health.
And so is
like
health.
if you don't have
That's
your
true.
health,
Right.
you don't have much.
So I think that's our backstory,
Yeah.
and tune in for more next week.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
See you soon.